one from getting things going here. Remember, Super Chat is open. Great way to support this show is give us a thumbs up. And you know what? Let's have a good show here. Here we go. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Now, near the end of each month, we go where very few have gone before, and we've survived. Yes, it's another edition of Strange Days with Butch Witkowski. Butch's group, UFO Cop, their website, uforcop.com, has been going after the legends of Dogman, Bigfoot, aliens, and every ghost that doesn't run away from him. Each month, we meet with Butch, who updates us on the latest and best stories that are haunting Canada, the United States, and around the world. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Butch Witkowski, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm fine, sir, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's good to have you here as well. And, you know, we always get new listeners coming on in, and I always like to start off the show by you introducing yourself and reminding the audience who you're all about, because you've been doing this for a couple of decades now. And I got to say, I don't think you're any closer to any answers, much like the rest of us, but at least you're trying. You're getting out there, and you're trying to move the ball forward. How hard is it, Butch, in this field to move that ball forward?
Well, it takes a lot of time, effort, energy, money. It's, you know, with this COVID thing, a lot of sightings coming in. To date, Pennsylvania now has 400 UFO sighting reports, which is, it's up there. But, you know, people are home. They're out. They're out in their backyards. They're looking up. A couple of bipedal reports have come in. So, yeah, you got to really want to have a passion to hunt for the truth, you know, as to what these things are, whether it's cryptozoology or the paranormal or ufology or whatever, anything Fortean. I mean, you get a little goofy after a while. You know, you keep reading all these reports, and pretty soon you're seeing things that aren't there. But it's really, in my mind, it's always been enjoyable to me because I've got to meet a lot of neat people, got to talk to a lot of strange people, got to see things in a different light, you know, things I never would have thought I ever believed in, I've seen or investigated, or it just comes to me almost naturally now when I get a report. You know what I mean? It's not like before in the very beginning when you struggle with every little bit of information. Now it's like the questions roll off your tongue, like, you know, you were born with that ability. It's really interesting. There's always something new coming out. Paranormal, like I said, paranormal, cryptozoology, ufology, there's always something new. Even the older cases that are still being examined, are producing, new information, and cases that are older and, weren't investigated at the time that they took place are now being followed up on and investigated. And again, I have to give a shout out to all the younger investigators that are out there doing their thing, because if it wasn't for them, a lot of this stuff would go unchecked, and that would be bad.
So for you, as being one of the elder statesmen of this field, and you're in your, I believe, your late 60s, early 70s now, I mean, you're supposed to be enjoying retirement, and yet here you are trying to run around the forest looking for these bipedal creatures that aren't supposed to exist, yet people are seeing them on a regular basis. I mean, that's got to be tough, Butch.
Well, it's like I said, you have to have, I don't know so much as it's a passion, but it's that hunt for the truth, to find out if something that you're looking for could really exist, or has it really existed for a long, long time. Look, they've been looking for Bigfoot now for 50-some years? They ain't found him yet, but pretty sure he's out there.
Okay, so Butch, why do you, though, waste the time? You could be investing your money, investing your time, especially, in what people may consider more productive things. You could be loading up a motorhome and traveling across the United States. You could be, doing charitable work around your town, or whatever you feel proper about. Yet here you are chasing legends.
Well, yeah, but it's what I choose to do. I am retired, so the only thing that retirement did, as opposed to when I was still working, was pretty much doing the same thing, only more limited in time. And now I've got all the time in the world. I can go into my library and sit down and when I was still working, I'd get a report, I'd look it over quick and put it on the desk, and then take off, go to work, do your thing, and then maybe not get right back to it. Where now when I get a report, I can sit down and I can go top, bottom, make phone calls, talk to people that were witnesses or other investigators, researchers, and it's just something I prefer to do. I've been all over the country. Haven't gotten to British Columbia yet, but I'm working on that. And so it's like, a friend of mine was a stamp collector. He was a freak. This guy would go to China to get a stamp. And I always laughed at him growing up, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm more like him than he's like him. So it's just a pursuit of the truth. You get a lot of reports, a lot of stuff that's interesting. A lot of the older reports are being reinvestigated and looked into now that there's new technology available, like DNA and stuff like that. So that's pretty neat. That's interesting. The researchers down in Puerto Rico working on why all the blood is taken and the anal areas are taken from the cattle that are mutilated. And, their thing is they're thinking it has something to do with the serotonin in the body. So, because that's mainly where serotonin is found, the brain, the blood vessels, and the bowels. So it's just a passion, I guess, probably won't ever quit. And
why not, right?
Yeah, and when my time comes, I've already set up where my library and reports and everything will go to another investigator, much younger, but will carry it on. So, but I'm kind of hoping I get the big one before that happens.
Butch, what do you want to see? I know you haven't had an experience with the bipedal canine. I don't believe you've seen Sasquatch. Okay,
no.
What do you want to see? If God granted you one paranormal wish, what would you want?
I want to see the bipedal canine. it's been around so long. There are so many stories that go back so far, so many reports, and I've talked about that one report that I found back in 1868. I mean, the description of that creature given by that farmer to the local constable is dead on from a report that I just received this afternoon that happened a couple years ago. So there's something out there. It's out there for a reason, and not only do I want to see it, I want to find out why it's out there. But it seems to me, from everything that we've found, researching backwards, going back into history and researching old reports, newspaper clippings, and all that stuff, this thing has been out there for a long, long time, longer than Bigfoot, actually, because, Bigfoot reports start with the indigenous, and then they kind of peter off. You don't hear anything more about them until, the California deal with Patty, and then it picks up again. So there's this lag for a long time, many years, where Bigfoot, Sasquatch really wasn't being reported, wasn't seen, just wasn't there. And then with Patty, then it started all over again. But with these bipedals, they started even before that, even before the Bigfoot reports, and they started, not only in this country but over in Europe. A lot of researchers think that they actually started in Eastern Europe and crossed over the land bridge, which existed back in those days between Russia and Alaska. So they've been here. They're here. We haven't had any reports or seen or found any reports where these things have hurt anybody. We've had a couple of reports and found a couple of reports also where there was an aggressive movement made, but that was it. That's as far as it went. No attacks, no deaths or anything like that. And when you talk to the indigenous about, the possibility of them being a skinwalker, which they all agree that's exactly what it is, they say, well, they're watchers, they're caretakers, they take care of the dead, they take care of the battlefields where there was a great loss of life with the indigenous, usually with wars between themselves. And, when I talked to the Cherokee out in Oklahoma, and I asked him, I said, well, how do you know they've been around so long? And he says, we have reports that probably go back older than what you're finding. And I went like, oh, okay. So it's one of those things like it's a neat little mystery, but there's information out there where you can you can glean a lot of information from stories and secondhand information, like from the tribes and stuff like that. And you have the same thing in your area with Sasquatch. I mean, the indigenous, some of the best stories of Bigfoot come from the indigenous up in British Columbia.
I got to ask you, in regards to the indigenous side of the paranormal, we always are very quick to dismiss it because it seems so unscientific. Okay, now everybody has their own way that they want to investigate. Everybody has their own way that they want to do things. And that's fine and dandy. You may not agree with it. I may not agree with it. Other people in the audience may not agree with it. But everybody wants to investigate the way that they feel is right. So my question to you is, in regards to the indigenous side of things, is there a way that we could bring the indigenous side to the scientific side and combine them to try and find the answers? Or is it too divided in order to even go down that road?
I would say off the top of my head, it would have to be, yes, first of all, it is divided. You have the older generation as opposed to the younger generation. The older generation believe it to the nth. The younger generation believe it kind of half-half, And I think done properly and with the proper connections and treading very lightly because, these people, when it comes to skinwalkers, I mean, that's like a curse upon the earth to them. If you mention the skinwalkers, that you know one or you've seen one or something like that, you'd be in big trouble. And there are, even according to the Indian tribal police, there are incidences where people will just disappear or bodies are found. And, they're just mutilated beyond belief. But the case in North Carolina with the school teacher, I mean, they still don't know what killed her. I mean, here's a lady in her late 60s, early 70s going to church, and they find her in a ravine, and she's pretty much shredded. And all the DNA, no animal attack, no wolf, no bear, nothing like that. They have no idea what killed that woman. So is there something out there that we don't know about, or is there something we do know about but we can't put our finger on it? Yeah. Can we get the indigenous to help? I have to say yes, because when I asked the questions and told them what I was doing and what I had reports on, they gave me a lot of information. And they kind of set my path as to what I should be looking for, little tips, I guess, as to if one was encountered as in its human form, there are telltale signs. And, they offered me protection and sent me stuff to wear to protect myself and just keep them apprised, and I do that. But the thing, I guess, is that the belief is so strong in the indigenous, and I don't just mean the indigenous here in the States, but in Canada, Alaska, and the descriptions of how they react, their histories. I mean, they go back to the Anunnaki. So a lot of people say, well, they started with the Navajo, and, well, they were actually around before the Navajo. But the one report that I just got today, it's the first one we got outside of our Lichen Loop, which is our research area, and that's 155 miles by 80 miles, and it's the first one that's out of that realm. But the gentleman sent the description because that's what I wanted. I got the story, but I wanted to hear this. I wanted to see the description because that wasn't included in the report. And I got the description today, and it's exactly what every description we had has been. There's no differentiating in the descriptions that we got. They're all exactly alike. Now, that's just uncanny that somebody in way northeastern Pennsylvania could describe something in south central Pennsylvania exactly the same size, dimension, color, actions. I mean, everything's identical. So it's the same way I feel about Bigfoot. There are too many reports out there to shrug it off. The same thing with the bipedals. There's just way too many reports out there to shrug it off. Either that, or you would have to say that all these reports that we've received over the last 5 years, that everybody we got them from is totally insane. And that's just not happening. I mean, we've had pilots, we've had attorney, we've had hunters, we've had police officers, we've had forest park rangers. I mean, these guys ain't making that stuff up. So it's out there, and I'm just going to give it the good old college try and see if I can get one on a FLIR device. I don't know how the pictures are going to turn. If it was a regular digital picture, everybody in the world will say it's fake. Or it'll be blurry, just like everyone taking of Bigfoot. But when you take something with a FLIR camera and video, it's there. You can't change it. You can't modify it because it goes by the heat and the cold given off by the whatever you're looking at. So I'm just going to keep at it.
Butch, we have 3 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days here on Spaced Out Radio. Butch, for people who may not have entered into the forest or been on an investigation, what's the fun of it? What's the thrill?
Well, the thrill is you hear all kind of weird stuff in the woods. You know what I mean? You hear footsteps, you hear branches breaking, you hear that, and you get all excited because you don't know what did that. I mean, unless it's a windy, snowy day or something like that where branches are being pulled down. But I think the rush is when you get to a spot where, in your mind, this would be the perfect hiding place for a creature to hide or make a little nest or whatever. And as you're walking up to that cave or that abandoned building or something like that, the rush is unbelievable because you really don't know what's in there. I mean, you could go in there and get bitten in the ass by a snake. Or you could walk in there and, by people be standing there staring at you going like, what are you doing here? So I think it's the thrill of the hunt plus the fear of the hunt. It cuts both ways. You want to go in there, but you're a little apprehensive, and then you want to make sure that you got protection or people that can get you out if you got in trouble and stuff like that. I just find it exhilarating, and I think if more people attacked it in a more scientific way, looking for DNA instead of just running around with a camera and binoculars and telling the story. I think there'd be a lot more people out there looking.
Okay, so you have spent literally thousands of dollars on this. You don't recommend people going to look for this to be breaking down their bank accounts. No.
When I started, it's 30 years now, and I started strictly in ufology. A lot of the equipment I bought off the very beginning was used. The van that I used was a little Dodge Caravan, and as time went on and time progressed, and that's over 30 years, newer equipment, more sophisticated equipment, equipment that I never thought I'd ever buy. I've spent money for, like cameras that take a photograph every second, and their Wi-Fi, so I can sit in my truck and look at the computer and watch those cameras. Or I can let those cameras there and just go home, But a lot of stuff has come up, the electromagnetic stuff and gas analyzers and just a lot of things that over time. Sometimes I thought, well, I'll never use this. It turns out I use it every time I go out somewhere. But no, I don't recommend anybody to go to the lengths that I've gone to over 30 years. Like the truck now is a big Ford Transit and all that stuff. But and then we have an Explorer also. But like I've offered this before to people, especially in the state of Pennsylvania. If they have something really online and they need the equipment, don't go buy it. Give me a call. We'll come out and see what we can do for you.
Absolutely.
We don't charge any.
Butch, let me cut you off right there because we do got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear.
Okay, time for iced tea.
I got some.
We got
we got 5 minutes. I got some iced tea here too.
Yeah, my wife just made some, so I'm going to grab up on it.
Sure.
I put a shot of vodka in it too.
While we're waiting for Butch, let's say a quick hello here. Let me get caught up in the chat room here. Hello, Felix. Good to have you back. Renee, nice to see you. Nate Foot is here. Thurston Howell III is back, everyone. Princess Denali, good to see you. Stone Hobbit, welcome back. How's everybody's weekend? Hope you all had a great weekend. Hi, Tim, in the Spreaker chat room. How you doing? Who else we got here? I don't know. Everybody's here. Everybody's here. Hey, Overbuilt. Good to have you here.
I'm back, sir.
Thank you. Stu Gerson. Right there, buddy. Thank you for coming in. I'm back, too. All right, so we'll get into photographs next, eh?
Okay.
Yeah. I'll leave it to that. That should take us to the top of the hour. One second here. Can't believe we're entering October this month or this week.
Ain't that something? Crazy.
God, we're almost done with this 2020 shit. Oh, we're in the home stretch now, my friend. We are in the home stretch.
God. Thank God.
Give me 1 second here. We got about 90 seconds, Butcherino.
Okay.
What's the wife got on there? A little bit of news happening there. Hey, Kilbasanova. Or Kyle Basanova. Or Kubasa Nova, if you're Ukrainian. She has a poster of Mars. Yes, she does. Bombshell Bomber, welcome back. Hey, everybody, I want to remind you that a great way to support this show is through the Super Chat. It is also a great way to give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell if you don't mind. That'll let you know when we are coming on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We also have the Space Travelers Club for $5 a month, as well as our store, the SOR Vault. So make sure you check it on out, and it's a great way to support what we do and sharing the shows. You know, like right now, you should be sharing this show on your social media. If you do that, I will love you forever. Ever. So we'll check that out. So it's Kubasab Nova. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters, Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with Butch Witkowski, who comes in near the end of each month for Strange Days. Yes, Butch kicks it all around with us, everything to do with folklore, legends, monsters, cryptids, and even the ghost that is haunting you next door. That is why he's so good. His website, uf4cop.com, which I highly suggest you check out. Butch, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
Now, Butch, I want to start this half hour out. I was given a picture this past weekend. And I don't get weirded out by photos too much, all right? And I've seen some strange photos. Everybody who has listened to this show has probably seen on my social media the man standing on the stairwell of the barn from my museum tours that we do up here.
Yes.
And there are some great photos of, you know, a lot of, how can we put it, ghost stories, okay? A lot of ghosts out there, a lot of really interesting stuff that is being photographed. And I don't know what is causing this, but this picture that I received this past weekend really, really tripped me out. Really tripped me out. So I'm going to give a little bit of the backstory. All right, I got this photo from Chuck, who owns a couple of the radio stations that we broadcast on. And one of Chuck's employees gave this photo to Chuck and said, hey, do you mind turning this over to Dave to see what he could find out about this? So this photo was taken either in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where three gentlemen were enjoying a concert. And the first photo has just the three of them. They didn't know that there was a second photo taken. They only thought there was ever one. That's all they ever saw. So recently, one of the gentlemen was going through the photos, and he sees the second photo. So he checks it out, and his jaw drops because his friend who he was photographed with, his deceased sister, is in the photo. She died 10 years previous from a disease. And the problem with the photo is she looks like she is full-on humanoid, that she was actually posing in the photo. Nothing ghostly. You can't see through this person. Now, I can't release the photo publicly yet because I haven't got permission. Once I get permission, I will do so. But I do have permission to submit it to a few paranormal investigators. I've submitted it to you, Butch. You have seen it, and we're going to talk about this. I submitted it to Merle from Ghosts of the Great White North on our show here from the Paranormal Road Trippers, and I sent it to David Weatherly, who I know and trust. So 3 of you have seen it. And I'm just curious what your reaction to that photo is. And please be descriptive.
There have been, over time, many photographs taken of folks that were deceased that were not at the place and time the photo was taken, either singularly or in a group. As we discussed earlier, there's a really famous photograph of a sailor that died on board a ship, and when the ship docked, they took a group photograph like they normally did back in those days of the ship's entire complement. And in that photograph is the guy that had passed away, or actually was killed on board. And that photograph was taken apart, I don't know by how many people, and it is what it is. There's another famous photograph out there that people can pull up on the internet where a gentleman and his wife are in a car. It was taken in the late 40s. And they were, if I remember correctly, they were leaving their mother-in-law's funeral site. And in the back seat of the car behind the driver was the mother-in-law. And clear as a bell. I mean, as clear as what I've seen from you tonight. So there had been photographs. Another one was a group of college kids. That was in Indiana, I believe. We're celebrating the end of a semester, and everybody passed their test, so they're out having a drink. And it was a picture of, I believe there were 6 people at the bar. It was taken from the bar side to the other side of the bar, seating side. And in the window is, it just looked like somebody was looking through the window. I mean, it was like you couldn't see through it. It was nothing that like an apparition or anything like that. It was a photograph. And the person in that photograph was one of their classmates who had been killed 2 weeks prior in a car accident. The paranormal and although there are tons, and I mean tons and hundreds of paranormal investigators out there, these photographs, nobody really debunks them, or they haven't been debunked. Now there have been a couple out there that were just absolutely, obviously, doctored. But, and it's always it's either a relative or a friend that shows up in the photograph. There's another one of a girls' soccer team in England where the girl was actually kidnapped. The girl was actually kidnapped and murdered 2 years prior at the school. And in their graduation picture, she's in the back row. So how do you explain stuff like that? I mean, I always had a problem with the paranormal till I had a few experiences on my own that I can't explain. So did the deceased miss their friends or their family? Do their friends and family, through thought, conjure these people up, like wishing they were here in the photograph or something like that? Totally unknown. But, David Weatherly, I mean, he knows so much about that stuff that I'm sure he's going to come up with some startling facts as far as these photographs. And they're not doctored. I mean, some of these photographs are really old. I mean, they didn't have the technology or the digital technology we have today where you can fake anything. I mean, it is odd. It's kind of scary. The only other one that always stuck out in my mind, and I tried to take that photograph apart 100 times already. I just can't get through it. But there was 2 brothers. This was in, I think, Northern California, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 20 years ago. And the 2 brothers worked together, and there was a construction accident, and the one brother was killed. The younger brother was killed. And the picture is the family walking away from the cemetery, and this brother shows up in the picture standing aside of a tombstone as they're walking past.
That just seems wrong, my friend. That seems
I know.
So wrong.
I know. But there's no explanation. I understand the Ghost and Goblins group, running around. Everything they see is a ghost, or, dust is orbs and strange lights are not reflections off the mirror from your camera. But there are paranormal photographs. There's pictures that go back to the early 1900s. There was one of I believe he was some kind of duke or a baron. I remember the picture. I just don't remember the whole story. But he had passed away in the morning, And the afternoon after he passed away, they had a photographer come into the very, very large residence to photograph everything to make sure nothing was going to be stolen or taken by relatives or anything like that. And he takes a picture of this huge living room with the big walk-in fireplace, the whole 9 yards. And there he is sitting in the chair. He died that morning.
Why do you think that, or let me rephrase it, how do you think ghosts have this amazing ability, Butch, to manifest themselves into a full-on human, like some of the pictures we have seen?
I think, or I guess, I want to say that, one, they either don't know that they are dead, which is a possibility, I guess, and two, that they have been with the people that they've shown themselves to through photographs so long that they just, the way it is, I mean, you know, they just, they're there, whether it's a thing where they miss the relative or the friend or whatever in the photograph, or the subject in the photograph just never leaves that group or that whatever friendship or love or whatever in the whole scenario of the photograph. You know, it's the paranormal has never really been studied. I mean, yeah, I understand all the television stuff, but I'm talking about really scientifically studied, but by a handful of researchers in the world, not just the United States. And you know, some of the stuff they come up with is pretty amazing. Like I said, I had one experience. Well, as a matter of fact, I had two experiences. But if somebody would have told me that a year before I had those experiences, that I would see that or hear that or whatever, I would just look at them and say, like, yeah, what are you drinking or smoking? The connection between the other side and this side of, you know, that gets into so many different discussions and realms. I just get for a loss of words and thought why somebody would want to come back and show themselves, I guess, whether it's a photograph or just a head-on sighting eye to eye or whatever. But we don't know. Nobody ever went there and came back to tell us. So a lot of conjecture, a lot of thoughts, and then a lot of people say, well, their soul is not at rest. Well, that's possible, I guess. Mm-hmm. But, you know, how do we know that? And how would we ever prove that their soul is at rest? I mean, it's not like these pictures that were taken are like the lady in the backseat of the car or the brother on that standing by the tombstone. They weren't angry. They weren't, you know, showing any anger or anything that would say that they weren't just happy to be there.
In the photo that I sent you,
mm-hmm.
Okay, the man's sister had been dead for nearly a decade. A decade.
Yeah.
Why all of a sudden at a concert venue would she show up there?
Well, you know, some people say that when these photographs are taken, it's somebody that's also in that photograph that's thinking of them, and whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, they're thinking of them, which brings them into the photograph to let them know that they've either made that connection or that, you know, everything is okay or everything is not going well. I mean, there's just so many explanations for that one. But in that photograph, I mean, it looks like she just walked up and stood there.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to work on the photograph to see that, you know, it wasn't something that was placed in there. But from what I see, I don't think it was placed there.
So to describe it, there's three people standing side by side, three gentlemen. Okay, they're on
Correct.
the concert floor, and in the photograph, in the first photograph, you can't see anything.
Correct.
Outside of people around them. The second photograph, you see what looks to be a short lady standing on her tippy toes, trying to get her chin up onto the shoulders of the guys and looking over. You see her glasses. You see how she blends right in. There's no weird lighting or anything there. And it's just amazing, how that is captured. We've seen photographs like that look way too good to be true. Okay, but I know from investigating it on my end that this person has contacted every member of his family, and they have all confirmed that's the daughter / sister / niece / grandchild.
Yeah, and again, she's smiling in the picture.
Yes.
So it's not like it's an angry visitation. I mean, either she's just happy to be there with whomever her relation is in that group of three, and why was it's some people say it's unconscious thought, like say I sat here for days and days and days and thought about my brother who passed away at a young age. That I would get some kind of a vision or something, There have been people with animals. There was a gentleman in upstate Pennsylvania that he damn near wound up getting committed because he lost a dog that he had for many, many years, like 14 years or something like that. And when he would go to bed at night, which was around 10 o'clock in the evening, the dog would go with him. And the dog passed away, and about a week later, every time he'd get up to go to bed at the same time, around 10 o'clock at night, the dog would be sitting there waiting for him in the hallway. And, he about drove himself crazy because he kept telling people about this, and they were there, and they didn't see anything, but he was describing the dog. And then, then you have the people on the other side, the people that describe people on the other side of making contact to let you know that everything's okay, that they're okay, there's nothing wrong. They're watching over them. The ones that get a little goofier, where, you have a couple get married and a dead relative sends them a real card. And when a handwriting expert checks it to their handwriting, it's their handwriting. And they've been dead for like 25 years. That gets a little spooky.
It totally does. So, in your opinion, we think of ghosts as the spiritual entities, that we may catch a see-through image. Like, if you look at the photographs at Gettysburg, all of these images that we see, they're all see-through. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yet these are physical. How do we tell the difference? How do we know? I know this is a difficult question, but do we know or have we figured out how the ghosts are able to go from like a spiritual level where you could see through them, they're translucent, comparatively to those who are coming through in a very physical type form?
I think I've heard that question before where the reason, like the photographs in Gettysburg where you have soldiers walking alongside of cannons, walking in the woods in formation, those kind of photographs where they're very translucent. And, they're because of the, and it's happened many, many times where you have a great loss of life, whether it's a fire or a war or whatever, and these translucent entities are seen. And everybody always pretty much chalks them up to being like, well, they're not at rest. They still think they're fighting the war or they're trying to get out of the fire, etc. And then you have the other ones where, like the photograph that you shared with me, it's like it's a real picture. I mean, it's not translucent like you said. I mean, you can. I didn't really get to really work on it yet, but one of the things I want to look for and see if there's any reflection in the lenses of her glasses, because there's a lot of light there. So it's just, it's so hard to explain because you don't know why you would get a visit. I mean, was friendship that strong, like with the sailors or the co-eds at the school, or the couple of the guys at the bar, with their buddy? So hard to come up with an answer to that. That you can't just throw anything out there because you don't know. I mean, now if you had a picture of somebody sitting at the bar and the guy behind in the window has got a shotgun in his hands, I'd worry about that one. But it's just some of these photographs. I mean, it's not like they're angry. They're either very placid looking in their description of smiles, or they're just smiling, or they're just there. Like this, a picture that you sent. I mean, she's absolutely smiling, so she's evidently happy to be there. But again, that comes up to the question: is why is she there?
That's the big question. I mean, you could say it's out of love. You could say it's out of family. Maybe,
Sure.
Maybe she was a giant fan of the concert her brother was at. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different scenarios as to why she would appear. I guess the big question is, we really don't know, Butch, how they manifest the energy in order to look like they are human again. And we got about just over a minute left.
Well, I just saw something on the site here where somebody said, "Why would a ghost need to wear glasses?" Well, the lady that where the husband and wife were driving away from the funeral, and the mother-in-law's in the back seat, she's wearing glasses. She's a little on the translucent side, but you can make out all the features on her. She's wearing glasses. The gentleman that was standing outside the window, behind in front of the bar with his buddies all celebrating school, he had on glasses. So is that the way they looked when they passed? I mean, were they wearing their glasses when they died? Or, you come up with, a lot of different scenarios. But the fact is, we just do not understand the paranormal. We have no... I mean, there's just things... when it comes down to the paranormal, it usually ends up like this on the report. We have no idea what we saw, what we photographed, where it came from, how it got there, etc. And I just think... I don't know what they would do to make investigating cases like that more reachable through scientific methods or anything like that. It's such a very hard subject, paranormal.
Absolutely. Butch, I'm going to get you to hold right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. We're going to get into the Dyatlov Pass when we come back to kick off hour number 2. All right, we're clear.
Okay, what do we got?
We got 6 minutes. I'm just going to turn the commercials up, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes, okay?
Okay, boss.
Where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space
All right,
Travelers.
Butch, I'm back.
It's me again.
Okay, boss.
Nick, you're asking about the watermelon. It's a hat of the Saskatchewan Roughriders that my good friend, the Ukrainian Watermelon, sent to me. He's a Riders fan because I called him the Ukrainian Watermelon, so he actually got me a watermelon hat. We've got about just over under 90 seconds. Hello, gorgeous and talented Kira. How are you? Excuse me. About 45 seconds, Butch.
Okay.
All right, we will be taking questions an hour or two, so make sure you put them in capital letters if you don't mind. We got 30 seconds. All right, here we go, everyone. Thank you to Cat Chaser for the super chat as well.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bogart. Bogart is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with Butch Witkowski as he comes in near the end of each month for a segment we call Strange Days. Now, Butch's website is uforcop.com. If you want to check it on out or you have a report that you would like investigated, Butch, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
Now, we were going to get into some... That was a long... that's terrible for radio. Terrible. Terrible host. We were going to get into some talk about the Dyatlov Pass. I know you have an update on that. But I want to get to a couple audience questions here right off the bat coming from our chat room, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right, let's start off with Lord of Land. Butch, why have there been no really good pictures of Dogman?
Well, I'm going to chalk it up to what the people have seen head on, basically. I mean, almost every report, this thing is within, just a few yards of the sighting. There have been people out on walks. There have actually been hunters, park rangers. They have a description. They have a scenario of how they came in contact with it. It doesn't make any type of a overt action toward anybody, with the exception of one or two. But the people just be like walking along or driving along, and this thing either runs across a roadway or it's. We have one report of it eating a roadkill, which kind of takes it out of the realm of being a specter. A specter wouldn't need to eat roadkill. Most of the stuff is always in state parks. There have been I've never even heard of anyone even having a camera with them at the time. Most of the people were taking walks or a bike ride or driving, and that was even in the case of the park ranger and his friend. They were just walking on a new trail to see how the repairs were coming along. So, and then again, if they take a picture, and I know there's a bunch of them floating around the internet. I've seen a couple of them that are joke. Most of them related to the movie Dog Soldiers. But I still think the only way you're ever going to get a photograph or an image that's going to be provable is going to be with a thermal imaging device of some sort. camera, floor camera, video camera. Other than that, nobody's ever even mentioned a camera or taken a picture. I mean, when they see this thing, when you come across this animal that's, 8 to 10 foot tall and the way it looks, its body build and everything else, everybody pretty much has the same idea. Get out of there. And it doesn't run. I mean, it shows no fear. I mean, even with gentlemen that have been out hunting and had weapons, like park ranger, he had a sidearm, but they don't show any fear at all. They watch you. The one gentleman up in a tree stand, he had his sights through the scope of a high-powered rifle, and he, as other people that had weapons, said the same thing. You just have this thing put in your head that don't pull that trigger. Don't do it. If you do it, it's going to get real bad real quick. And in our first report, where the gentleman went back the second day with a bunch of his buddies, and they were all carrying weapons, when they walked in, they all stopped at the same time, looked at each other, and went like, "We need to get out of here right now." And they didn't even see it, but they had the feeling that it was there, and if they stayed there, guns or no guns, somebody was going to get hurt really bad.
Wow. All right, let's move on to Manitoba Becky's question. She is asking, why is it ghosts can't stay longer when they visit?
Boy, that's a good question. I don't know. And, being that they can do what they can do, which is materialize when they want to, why would they not let somebody know that they're there all the time? Well, the guy with the dog. I mean, the dog's there every night. So I guess they control that. I wouldn't know of any other way to put that other than the fact that if they want to stay, they're going to be there. I've long given up on the paranormal investigations at hospitals and, old prisons and stuff like that. There's so many things that could give a reflection or a shadow if you're using a camera or, any type of lighting in a dark building. But the mind plays tricks, the eyes play tricks. I've had people send reports of, they're looking at a UFO right now, and the guy only lives a few blocks away from me, and I actually drove over to his house, and he said, "Yeah, I'm still looking at him in the backyard." And I go in the backyard, and he's looking at an airplane. So, people see what they want to see. But as far as when they can manifest and how long they stay, I guess that's up to them.
I have a theory of this. I think it's because that technically we're not supposed to see them. We're not supposed to see them manifest. We're not supposed to see them in full figure form.
Well, like I described those pictures, and all those pictures that I described, nobody saw those entities. Nobody. And like the photograph you shared with me, I mean, they didn't know that. They didn't know that she was there.
But what I'm saying is, okay, like for instance, the ghost I had in my yard that I watched disappear right in front of me, through a psychic medium who I happened to have on the air that night, this spirit told her that I wasn't supposed to see him at all, number one, but number two, to see him disappear. It's almost like there is this, and I hate to say it this way, but it reminds me of the movie Beetlejuice. When you got the ghost handbook. I forget what it's called. But you know how they have the handbook for the recently deceased?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. And it's almost like there's this written code in there of what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And, maybe it's just fantasy, maybe it's romanticism, but I like to believe that might be true, Butch.
Well, it could be. I mean, we know a lot of stuff about the paranormal. We know a lot about UFOs. We know a lot about the strange animals running around the world all over the place. But, when it comes down to it, we know very, very little. We think we know a lot, but we know very little. Especially when it comes to the paranormal, because there's just so many things that... The one that always intrigued me was there was a funeral parlor It had been since torn down. Well, actually caught fire and then burned down, but then they destroyed it altogether. But the gentleman that ran the funeral parlor, and this was down in Louisiana, I believe it was right outside of New Orleans, one of the parishes, and the old guy ran the place for like 50 years. He was like the only undertaker around, and he had 2 bodies to bury, and he was storing 3, I believe, for transport. And he died during the night, and one of his helpers or assistants came in and found him in his chair at his desk. He passed away. And it was about 3 hours later, after the police and all that, they went through all that stuff, make sure there was no murder, that the assistant went to, continue the work, get the bodies transported and get the other 2 buried. They weren't there. They never did find them. The caskets were there, but they weren't there. The bodies were gone.
Weird.
Yeah. 5 bodies? Yeah, that's weird. And nobody was there. I mean, the place wasn't broken into or anything like that. And, I mean, the guy got there at like 8 o'clock in the morning, found his boss at 8:10 or something like that, called the police, and, they came, and after the police left, and they got his body out of there and took it into the coroner and stuff. And he went to finish what his boss started, and the bodies were gone. They've never been seen again.
Strange. All right, let's move on to another question here, because Nick is asking, why do you think a spirit would need to wear glasses? Do they always manifest in pictures the way we saw them in real life?
From what I gathered on these older reports, like the lady in the back seat of the car, she wore glasses, and that's what she's wearing in the photograph. The young fellow that was killed in the car accident, standing outside the window, he wore glasses, and he's wearing glasses in the photograph. So does it mean that at the time of that they die, whatever they have on or how they look, that's what you're going to see? I don't see any other reason for glasses. Just like the photograph, that you shared with me. I mean, lady's wearing glasses. What I'd like to see is a picture of her 10 years ago.
Yeah, me too. Apparently she didn't look in as good a health. That's all I know. All right, let's move on here. Tim is asking, Butch, have you heard anything about the strangeness behind the horses being attacked near Louisville, Kentucky earlier this summer? Cryptids? Were they accused of being cryptid attacks?
Yeah, that was one of the accusations. Of course, schoolboys or, just lunatics running around. But it's funny that they came out, these reports come out while recently, very recently, as a matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, a group of researchers in England, along with the police reports and everything else, are investigating hundreds of mutilated horses in England. Hundreds reports. The last time I looked at it, they had 154 reports of horses being mutilated. Some died, some didn't. But they're not describing the mutilation, the type of mutilation. Was it just somebody running around with a knife, or was it they were shot or anything like that? I mean, there's no real information yet, but there will be. 154 horses, and that's all over England. That wasn't just in a certain area. That was all over England. Carriage horses were maimed, arteries cut, throats slashed, stab wounds, that kind of stuff.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's move on here. John, who always has a Stetson on when he's listening to this show, he is asking, Butch, has anyone who believes they are talking to Bigfoot ever asked the Sasquatch about dogmen that you know of?
No, I've never heard that one. I've heard of people talking to Bigfoot, but not whatever the discussion was about. I have no idea, but there are people that go out there, they sit in their research area and they talk, they discuss. They got the recorders going, see if they get an answer. But to date, I don't know of anybody that ever got an answer.
Could you imagine? What do you do? Do you bring a case of beer into the forest and just sit down on a rock? And, hey, Bigfoot, tell me about Dogman. Well, what's this jerk like? Is he an a-hole much like everybody says he is? You know what I'm saying? Is that how the discussion would go? I really don't know.
Well, with my luck, it'd be, the guy would start talking about Jack Link's jerky and then tell me his name was Darryl. That makes no sense to me at all. I don't know why anybody would do that. I mean, most of the stories you hear where people have a run-in with the big guy, it's after the fact. So, they'll see footprints or they'll see, or there's a gifting site that's been involved or, trees knocked over and stuff like that. But never heard of anybody trying to talk with one or communicate with one. And how would you communicate? I mean, what are they going to do if the creature speaks Polish?
Lots of drugs, my friend. Lots of drugs.
Got that right.
Honestly, the first thought that I had in my mind, and I'm going to go old school here. Do you remember the early 80s song, Wasn't That a Party, by the Irish Rovers?
Yes.
Where in the lyrics of the song, they were talking about hockey, and the cat was talking back. I don't know why I thought of that when I'm thinking Bigfoot having a sit down discussion. I want to be at that party, man. I do. I want to be at that party where all of a sudden you're standing in the middle of the forest, and here we go. We're having a beer, you, me, Sasquatch, Butch, and we're asking them about hockey and Dogman. I want to know that. That's a conversation I want to have. I don't know what kind of drugs we're going to have to be on, but I can tell you this: they are going to be potent, man. Potent.
Yeah, they're going to have to be.
Oh, I have no idea how many beers we're going to have to bring into the forest with us. Butch Witkowski's Strange Days continues. Butch, we got about 5.5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour here. I want to get into Dyatlov Pass. You have been watching this case thoroughly over the last number of months because there has been some news on it regarding any sort of update as to what really happened back in the 1950s to 9 very well-trained outdoors people who were going to do some out-of-boundary cross-country skiing.
Right. Well, a lot of information that's out recently was from the investigation was started by the Russian Attorney General's office to get to the bottom of the case, and they started it in late 2019, and they just published their findings, which was kind of ludicrous. But they said, look, the cause of the deaths of these 9 people, these 9 hikers, was hypothermia. Well, yeah, okay, that's part of it, but how they explain all the damage done to these kids? I mean, in the autopsy report, the doctor performing the autopsy and his assistant say the injuries are equivalent to somebody being hit by a truck at high speed. So hypothermia doesn't cause injuries like that. It just doesn't happen. And a Russian researcher, Paul Stonehill, he lives here in the United States, but he does a lot of the UFO stuff. And he finally came out, and nobody has really come out with that had any credibility. Paul has a lot of credibility, and he said this incident is definitely alien-related. But the caveat he puts to that is that, military involvement is always a possibility. And another thing was that he was trying to find out, because one of the hikers, I don't remember which one it was, but one of the hikers they exhumed the body, and the reason it was exhumed was to make sure they had some cockamamie story, like make sure that was the right person in the grave. But he and another researcher was thinking that they were pulled up to grab DNA, which, of course, they didn't have really that back in 1959. But it's one of those cases. It's never going to go away. It's just never going to go away, because just saying that, these people died of hypothermia, well, the first thing they said they died from was an unknown compelling force, and that was what the final to say was from the autopsy, an unknown compelling force. Well, what the heck is an unknown compelling force? I mean, it's a compelling force and it hits you, you know what hit you. But then, the Russian, everybody thought the Russians were going to do the job and, get down to the bottom of it. Well, they didn't. They just come up with this thing like they all died of hypothermia. Well, how do you explain the crushed skull, broken ribs, fractured this, busted that? I mean, it's just, no way. Is it just, no. Hypothermia was not, might have been, it helped. I mean, the ones that were wounded and stuff, I'm sure the hypothermia killed them. But that wasn't the cause of death. I mean, it didn't cause the injuries, which were all life-threatening. The gentleman with the skull, the crushed skull, they said he probably was alive for about 20 minutes. So it wasn't hypothermia with him, it was a crushed skull. And then, broken ribs, like not just one or two broken ribs, like the whole side, one side broken ribs and back. Oh, just it's crazy. And if anybody really wants to read a good book on it, it's called Dead Mountain. And that pretty much tells you the whole story. And there's excerpts in there from the autopsy and photographs and everything else. But, for Paul Stonehill to come out after all these years and saying, because he never really commented on it other than the fact that it was under investigation, to say that the incident was alien-related and that military involvement was a possibility, that kind of tends to put you in another place with this investigation.
We actually
Will it ever be solved?
We actually have Paul Stonehill coming up within the next month and a half or so.
There you go.
We just scheduled him, yes.
Yeah, good guy, smart guy.
Can't wait to get him on. Can't wait to get him on. But, I mean, this case, as we got just under a minute here, this case has so many twists and turns. How do we even know what the truth is anymore?
Well, the problem starts out right from the very get-go that, the lead investigator, when they finally get to the location, the search and rescue team, the lead investigator, after one day, quits. He just quits. They didn't even find a body yet, and he quit. So what did he see or what did he know? We'll never know because he's dead.
Well, let's talk cover-up. I know there's a couple questions from our audience asking about this. We're going to continue on with the discussion with Butch Witkowski on the Dyatlov Pass. What happened there? What's the new updates of what's going on here? Butch Witkowski comes in near the end of each month to talk about the weird and strange that has happened in the month that was. UFOcop.com is Butch's website. More Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. All right, we're clear.
Okay. Time for more iced tea.
Yeah, I'm going to have a little sip here, too. A little sippy-doo here.
My wife will say in the morning, "Did you drink all that iced tea?" Yep. Sure did. Right back.
All right, you do that. Hi, everybody on YouTube and Spreaker. I'm Dave. I'm the guy on the microphone. That's me. 148 people in here tonight. I think we topped out at 151. Hey, Spa. Hey, some ASMR. You're single. Well, do we got to play the dating game with you here, or what? You got to give us a little bit more info than you're single. Johnny Dazzles, welcome back, man. What's the voices in the background? I think that's episodes of Mod. Butch Witkowski is a major, major fan of Mod. No, it's the news. They're talking about the U.S. Supreme Court. This is Nestea Iced Tea. Cosmic Emerald Nebula first. Welcome back. How you doing? My favorite ice cream, Spa, it would be Neapolitan. That's a mixture of vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate. I also like blueberry or bubblegum ice cream. The blue kind, not the red kind or the pink kind. Well, thank you, Spa. I'm Dabe. That's awesome. Dabe. No, Dabe is fine. Dabe is fine. I used to work with a good friend of mine named Dave, and he had a very strong East Indian accent, and he had only been in Canada a couple of years, and he had troubles pronouncing the letter V, so he used to call me Dabe. Dabe. And I'd be like, "Hey, Dabe," and he'd be like, "Hey, Dabe, how are you?" And I'm good, Dabe. How's your day going? And he'd be like, "Good, Dabe." And we'd have this entire Dabe conversation. It was awesome. Love him.
Okay, Dave, I'm back.
Hey, Butch. While you were gone, we were doing a little bit of a debate here.
Okay.
There's a few people in the chat room who say if we took your mustache and goatee off, put some hair on you, you'd be a modern-day B. Arthur.
Oh, my God.
Nobody said that. I'm making that up, but that's funny. That is funny.
Yes, it is.
Hey, Jose, how you doing? Who else do we got here? Game Vet, good to have you back, man. Good to have you back. Am I Australian? No, I'm Canadian. We got 1 minute, everyone. 1 minute. 152 people. We've only got 42 more to tie the record. 42. Butch, a couple of the audience members were asking if there's any way that you could turn down the news in the background, or is that the wife watching?
Let me check.
There you go, bombshell bomber. Oob Joe's Main. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for hitting that thumbs up, hitting that subscribe button if you're new. Don't forget the Super Chat is open, and we got a great store called the SOR Vault on our website. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis here on the show. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with Strange Days. Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop, based out of Pennsylvania, is here. His website, that's my website, spacedoutradio.com. UFOcop.com is Butch's website. And we're talking Dyatlov Pass right now. And Butch, what's the latest update that you're hearing on the Dyatlov Pass?
Well, like I said, Paul Stonehill is really the first one that ever came out and said that the Russian investigation just proves that, in his mind, that the incident was alien-related and there was military involvement. That's the latest out of the Russian investigation of 2019.
How did he come across that information? Because we will ask him here when he's on the air with us in about 5-6 weeks here.
Yeah. I have no idea. He's got a lot of connections. Like I said, he's very credible in his reporting, and he investigates a lot of stuff in Russia. So either he's got a good connection, or he found something that everybody else has been overlooking.
How believable is that?
Yeah, with Russia, anything's believable. I mean, the original story was that there was a two-stage rocket that was being tested back in '59. Of course, the one camera they found had some bright lights on it, but they said the camera was embedded in snow for so long. They kind of figured that it was just, or they kind of said that it was just the film was deteriorated or got wet. You just don't know. I mean, it's such a strange case. Avalanche was first brought up. Well, there was no avalanche because the footprints were still there where they left the tent. And if there was an avalanche, the tent wouldn't be there, and then there wouldn't be any footprints. And all the footprints that they did find all belonged to the hikers. There was no big footprints or military boot prints or anything like that. It was just the hikers, either in socks or barefoot.
If it was aliens, is there any military video footage that may be hidden away that we know of?
No, not that we know of. The military, from the very, very beginning, the only thing the military was ever involved in was the search and rescue. Other than that, in all the files and things that I've read anyway, the military is not even mentioned. There was a piece of aluminum shielding found out there that is in the custody of the Dyatlov investigation group in Russia. But although they say it's a piece of some type of missile, or it's something that could have fell from space, because in those days you had the early Sputniks and stuff up there, or it was something that the military was testing, and maybe testing without, knowing that these kids were out there hiking, they were in that area. But then again, the Mansi village isn't that far off, and they didn't have anything. I mean, they didn't see anything, hear anything. They weren't affected by anything. There were so many scenarios that popped up over the years. I mean, but they all popped up with no evidence, no proof of how they came to that conclusion, or and I'd be interested to see how Paul came up with this, stating that the incident was alien related. Could it be? Sure. Could it be military involvement? Sure. Infrasound was another thing that was brought up. That, but there were other researchers out there over the years. Some recently, Swedish and I think German. They were, looking at how the tent was placed. Could a snow slide have caused it? But they all came up with the same thing. No, it couldn't have, because the tent wouldn't be where it was. Now, there was snow on the tent, but it had snowed. But the tent was exactly in the same place it was set up. It didn't move. There was a set of skis that were actually stuck down in the snow, to get them out of the road, and they were still there. And why didn't they go out the entrance of the tent? Instead, they cut their way out from the inside. Don't know. Have no idea.
Butch, what happened to the bodies? Okay, did they go for an autopsy? Was there anything ever released on the autopsies? Were they given back to the families for proper burial, or did the communist government at the time just take care of them because they didn't want any chance of exhuming them? What's your thoughts?
Well, the bodies were retrieved. They were all autopsied. They were all photographed. The autopsy and all the photographs are on the internet. They were given back, and they got proper burial with their families. They were all open casket. Even the shape they were in, the condition they were still open casket. Russia does not have that type of honoring that we have here in this country, where if a body's really messed up, they close the casket and it stays closed. But over there, it doesn't matter. It'll be an open casket. Monuments have gone up all over the country for those kids. The autopsy is very plain. You can read the whole autopsy. Just punch in Dyatlov. There's so much information out there, and it's official information, where you can read in English. You'll see drawings of the injuries. You'll see pictures of the actual injuries while they're being autopsied. I mean, everything is there to see. And, when you see the damage and you look at the drawings made by the attending physician at the autopsy, there is no way that these kids just, that unknown compelling force. And then in the autopsy, matter of fact, like 3 different places, the people conducting the autopsy said the same thing. I mean, the head guy said, look, the only way you get injuries like this is if you're hit by a truck at high speed. So there's no trucks there. So what did these kids run into, or what did that to these kids? I mean, you had fractures, lacerations, cuts, bruises. They had everything you could think of. Multiple fractures, missing tongue, missing eyes. It was crazy. But it was treated pretty much, when you start in the very beginning, it was treated much as 9 dumb kids went hiking in the woods, didn't know what they were doing, and they died. And that's how it came across, until other researchers started digging into it. And then, they got a hold of different reports from Russia, like the autopsy reports, the actual photographs of the bodies, the location of the bodies on site that were taken by the search and rescue team, all that kind of stuff. It's all available. It's all out there. But even when you go through all that stuff, you still can't come up with the reason of hypothermia did not cause, it might have been a cause of death in some of the cases, but not the injuries. Hypothermia doesn't cause injuries. Not like that. And these kids went a good distance away from that tent. So what scared them out of the tent, I guess, is the main question. It's always been the main question. Why did they cut their way out of the tent? They didn't have their heater on. There was no fire. they left all their clothing inside. Whatever they were wearing is what they ran outside in. So, don't know. It's just that it's a mystery that somebody probably has the answer to, but will we ever know? I seriously doubt it.
How come we spend very little time? We always talk about the person who had their tongue ripped out. We talk about the people running away without any shoes on in the middle of winter and the hypothermia and everything. We never talk about the one body that was allegedly, found that it had been almost dumped from a tree, like had dropped and then, hit every tree branch on the way down. And his jacket was up in the tree. Yeah.
Yeah, that all the information is in on that one too. He died of multiple fractures. He was probably killed on impact. What he was doing up in the tree, was he trying to get away from something, or was he trying to find dry wood to get a fire going? Who knows? I mean, it's just the thing is that you got to remember 2 weeks went by before these kids were even reported missing. A lot can happen in 2 weeks.
So do you think that there's a possibility that if there was alien involvement, that a ship did drop this guy onto a tree and he fell all the way down, breaking branches?
Yeah, could be. I mean, when you look at the area, the photographs, and they have really good photographs of the area, and the drawings of the area, scale drawings, it was perfectly flat. I mean, it's not like they ran off a mountain and ran into a mountain. They ran off a slope and went into fresh snow. I mean, hence all the footprints. And now, not the last three were the ones that were found a month or so, almost 2 months later, because they were buried under deep snow. But the ones that were found out in the open, I mean, I don't know how you could say that, with all the damage done to somebody out in the open in the snow, physical damage was caused by infrasound or a snow slide. If there was a snow slide, why weren't the bodies covered? Why are the footprints still there? That just puzzles me to no end. The skis are standing. The tent's still there. So that snow slide stuff, or high wind, or that's what they're talking about. Infrasound caused high wind and drove them crazy. Well, the researchers from Switzerland said there ain't no way you'd have that. I mean, you'd have high winds, but where the tent was, there was no way. The infrasound is usually caught between two mountains. You know what I mean? It causes a whistle effect, and it can pretty much drive you crazy. But he said even one research from the Swiss, or was it Germany, one or the other, said that even if that was the case, they would pretty much be incapacitated. They would just be raving maniacs till it stopped. But these people weren't like that. I mean, they found slits in the tent, cut from the inside, just slits. And I'm not talking about the exit slits. They're at the top. There's like 4 slits across, where they look like the slits were made to look out. You know what I mean? To see what was outside. And then, of course, the big slits where they exited the tent. And the end of the tent, where the opening was not blocked by anything. The other end of the tent was blocked, but that was, their gear, their knapsacks and extra clothing, boots, and all of their stove, which they never even unpacked. So, and these were experienced hikers. These weren't a bunch of just dumb kids that just decided they were going to take a walk in the woods in the snow. These guys had made this trip before. And, of course, the first thing out was that the Mansi tribe murdered them because they got into their area, which was a no-no. And there were just so many stupid scenarios that made no sense whatsoever. But will we ever know? Who knows? I hope. I'd really like to.
Well, I guess it all depends on how forthcoming Russia is going to be. And no offense with Vladimir Putin and his love of the prehistoric KGB, I'm not sure if that'll ever come out.
No, and if anything does come out, it's going to be strictly by accident. Somebody's going to find something, or whatever caused it that may have been a man-made cause or an alien cause. Somebody knows something, and it's going to be when that comes out, that'll go a long ways in solving or possibly solving what happened.
Do you think there's still evidence up on the mountains?
Yeah. A lot of people think that.
Okay, if so, what?
Well, one of the things I think that is strange but intriguing is the fact that a Russian investigator sent a note to a Russian prosecutor that he was going to Mount Alton to check on missing hikers. And that was 2 weeks before they went missing. It's dated twice.
What do you mean it's dated twice?
In other words, they were their whole deal gets down to February 2nd, 1959. Okay, and this note that was left that was found in a file is late January. At that point, they were still alive, supposedly.
Wow. Butch, this is one of those cases, much like Roswell here in the United States, where you are.
Yes.
Okay, where every day that goes by, we lose people that are tied to this. And we're getting to that point where 70 years beyond for Roswell, and now, my math all of a sudden dropped out. 80 years since the Dyatlov Pass incident, or 60 years, pardon me. Here we are every day. Somebody is dying. We don't have a lot of people who are alive left from these cases.
Right.
How are we supposed to get new information when the voices keep falling silent?
I think the Dyatlov investigative group in Russia, from very, very early on, saved everything they could get, like the negatives from the camera. They have all those. They have the original pictures taken by the people that were on the hike, documents from the Russian government that were made kind of dormant, but then got kind of quasi-released here, there, and, they put all that stuff together. They have that piece of metal that was found. Everything, they have everything under lock and key, and the original investigation from the government itself is in the archives, government archives, and they've been gone over by investigators, and they're pretty much cut and dry, like, this is what we think happened, and they give a couple scenarios with the infrasound, the snow slide, and all that stuff. And these are the people. And in the original reports was the autopsy and the photographs of the autopsies and the photographs of the bodies and the photographs of where they were found, how they were found, the positions they were found in, et cetera, et cetera. Well, somewhere along the line, somebody screwed up and made sure that all those copies went also.
Oh, what happened there?
No, they got.
We just had the weirdest clicking noise interrupt you, and it just went on this weird ticking noise. Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't even speak Russian.
Yeah, well, we'll blame it on the aliens because it can't be anything from Microsoft or Skype, that's for sure. It's got to be aliens or the Russians.
Yeah, if it was Skype, it would have shut off. But anyway, that's how the information was, as it was collected. It was shared with people that I guess they shouldn't have shared it with, and they couldn't go back on it because then that makes them look bad. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, we gave you this by mistake. You shouldn't have this. Well, too late by that time because everybody had it by that time.
Well, I mean, as we got about 3 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour, Butch, this is one of those cases that, does it come down to what is ever in a secret file stored somewhere in the Kremlin? Is that what it comes down to? Much like the hidden files of Roswell at the Pentagon or wherever they may be?
Probably, yes. I would think so. I mean, there had to be a reason, and it had to be a really good reason for a seasoned lead investigator to leave the scene, quit the investigation the day that he gets there. What did he see, or what did he find, or what was found?
This is weird.
Because he's long dead.
That just happened again. Go ahead.
But I'm just, what I was just saying is like, there were so many secrets that were let out, and then there were so many secrets that were never let out. So, will it ever come out in the near future or in the future sometime? Or does somebody have a piece of evidence that they've passed on to a relative or something like that to bring forth at the right moment? The families don't believe any of it. They just don't believe it.
Joe is asking, wasn't there something in one of the logbooks about the Iceman being real?
It was the one girl had a diary that she kept throughout the hike, and the things they found in there was that the statement in quotations was, "The Iceman does exist."
I wonder if they knew if they were being followed.
That could be, but again, I mean, all their footprints are found. If there was an Iceman, where's his footprints?
I have no idea.
Their footprints were everywhere. There's photographs of their footprints, but it's only their footprints, nobody else's. I mean, the photo.
This is weird.
No. Yeah.
You just had the longest stutter while you were speaking. You sound like you were rolling your tongue. It's pretty awesome.
I don't. I don't stutter.
I don't know. I'm going to blame Skype. I'm not ready to blame aliens yet.
No, not yet.
That's okay, though. Butch, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break at the top of the hour. We have Butch Witkowski's Strange Days for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. And then at the back end of hour number 3, we'll get to the SOR Newswire as Captain Shirk has us all prepared for a great night of the news. We'll also get to the Thought of the Dave as well. Stay tuned as we have a jam-packed Spaced Out Radio hour number 3 coming up next for your entertainment needs. We'll be back. All right, Butcher. We have 6 minutes. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans.
All right, I'm back, Butch.
Okay, boss. How's the numbers?
Good. Good. We're around the 150 mark tonight. The week that we took off to redo the studio, I think a lot of people who are normally here kind of found something else to do, but they'll be back. They'll be back. We got about 90 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe in the chat room thinks you're the crypto Chuck Norris. Okay, that thing. Butch, I'm going to call you right back. I want to get rid of that sound, see if we can get a better connection, okay?
Okay.
You have reached.
How's that?
Good so far. We'll see if it comes back. But this weird sound just kept popping up. I don't know what the heck it was, but anyways, we'll get rid of it here. We got 35 seconds. Hi, Moonstone. Welcome back. Hey, Clam. How are you? Oh, hey. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you to Cat Chaser for the super chat earlier on. Great way to support this show is hit that subscribe button, donate in the super chat, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up or down. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault on our website as well. Here we go with Hour 3.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out with all of you, and thank you for allowing me to do so. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, and on the digital side, TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The only thing I ask for in return is for you to hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bogart. Bogart is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Butch Witkowski from UFOcop.com. Butch is a long-time paranormal supernatural investigator who literally studies cases from all around the world. And Butch's website, UFOcop.com. Once again, Butch, thank you for being a part of Strange Days.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
We kind of like you around here. You're not as cranky as normally. I'm getting a little worried about this.
I got to behave myself.
I don't know if we approve of that, actually, Butch. We may have to have a little talk here.
I can change up on that real quick.
There we go. That's what we want. That's the Butch we know and love right there. Butch, we were talking about Dyatlov Pass last hour. Let's focus on North America here for a little bit. There's a lot of strange cases, whether it's Todd C's, whether it's David Paulides' missing 411. You have investigated human mutilations, animal mutilations, so on and so forth. Over the last, say, let's take 2-3 years, 4 years since you've been doing this, almost 5 years you've been coming on once a month here now. Are those type of strange cases still prevalent in North America?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, the 411 cases they're still going on. Unexplained abductions are still going on. Strange things in the sky still going on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's still going on. And we seem to be getting more reports of all those types of reports. And I still say it's due to the fact that, people are home, they're outside, they're not going anywhere. They're looking up at the sky, or they're researching on their own, or they just have a lot of questions. We get a lot of questions on things that people have seen, how to do this, how to do that. I mean, simple stuff like how to make a footprint cast. I mean, and then there's stuff that's really involved in, like, how do they set up a camera trap? It fluctuates. Like, sometimes it's just somebody relating a story that happened maybe, 10, 15 years ago. Is it intriguing? Yeah. Do they remember it, pretty much as it happened? Yeah. And, of course, then we have the usual, every now and then, the hoaxers, they have an alien that comes to dinner every Thursday So not too much of that stuff anymore. Too many people got busted doing that stupid stuff. But it's there's a lot of strange stuff going on. There really is.
Okay, so with what's going on here in North America, all right, people going missing, we have a number of people who just vanish out of nowhere. You have actually investigated this. You know, what is your conclusion? And I want to go back because I remember the first show we ever did together, it was on human mutilations and missing people. And the statistic that always stuck in my head was that you had said an FBI friend of yours had given you a statistic of approximately 1.3 million people in the United States alone go missing annually. And by the time they whittle that down from kidnappings to people running away to suicides to murder to whatever it may be, there is approximately 65,000 people unaccounted for annually on that list.
Yes.
I mean, that is just stunning, stunning figures, my friend.
Well, and it's not just here in North America. I mean, you know, those numbers match up in other countries, too. The African continent, Eastern, Western Europe, I mean, they all have the same, you know, the same MO where there's no explanation for what happened or where they went. I mean, they're just gone, just like with David Pallady's work. I mean, you know, people walk into the woods, they're with other people, and that's the last time they're ever seen again. It's a phenomenon that, you know, a lot of people say, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some researchers say that these people just walk into a portal or, you know, they just go to the other side, wherever the other side is. But again, nobody's ever seen anybody disappear like that. You know what I mean? You know, you've had people go down to get the mail at the end of their driveway, they disappear and never seen again. You have people that are hiking. They go around the bend, they're being followed by other people that they're with, and they're not there anymore. Now, yeah, you got to throw into the old thing of it could be an animal attack. You know, a mountain lion will take you down and drag you into the woods faster than you can think about it, and probably wouldn't make a sound. But it's just so many things that are just crazy, and it's not like there's a big age difference. I mean, we're talking about young, old. It doesn't matter. I mean, they're just gone. I mean, there's nothing left. I mean, there's no clothing, no articles of whatever they were carrying with them, or a backpack, or you know, it's just gone. People have been seen in vehicles or going to vehicles, and they just disappeared. They never got there, or they were in the vehicle and they were never seen again. The vehicle was there. People have disappeared in plain sight of other people, you know. The one that always kind of caught my eye was the one where, you know, it was a Saturday night, group of young people at a local bar in West Texas, I believe it was, if I remember right. And their buddy went out to get the car, and they watched him walk across the parking lot, and he didn't come back, and they thought, oh, maybe he had too much to drink, passed out, so they went there. The keys were laying on the ground, and he was gone, never seen again. No signs of struggle, no blood, no nothing. There are cases here in Pennsylvania where, and I think it was a series of cases, if I remember right. I really didn't dig into them too much, but where a number of college students would leave a local bar in town, probably the only one they had in that town, and they were never seen again. And then only one body was ever found, and that was, he was floating in a local river. But the other ones, nothing. Never found. No clothing. Never found anything. No struggles. So that's bizarre. When you get those kind of numbers, and that number has not changed. As a matter of fact, I looked at that a couple of weeks ago, just out of curiosity, and it's still in that same range, 65, 70,000 people. Now, that's just the United States. That's not Canada. That's not Europe or anything like that. That's just us here in the States. So what is it when you start to add up, which you can't get that information from some countries, but if you did have that information, probably talking in the millions of people that disappear every year. I mean, there's been whole towns disappeared, whole villages. It's crazy. I mean, where do they go? I mean, there's no signs of any struggle. There's no outside evidence like trucks drove in and took them off, kidnapped them, or anything like that. I mean, they're just gone. And age doesn't mean anything. Babies have been missing out of carriages while they're, Mom parked the carriage out front, ran in to get a cup of coffee or something, came out, and the carriage was empty. And there was nobody there. I mean, nobody was even close to the carriage. The guy went down to collect his mail. I forget what that reward now is for him. It was up over 300,000 or 400,000. He went. His mailbox was a quarter mile from the house. He was having a big party. Big construction guy, well liked, well loved. Went down to get the mail. Didn't come back. So one of his boys, got in the pickup truck and went down the end of the driveway. Mailbox was open. Mail was in it. The ATV that he was riding on was parked on the hill. It wasn't running. It was parked. And he was gone. He's never been seen again. And that's been, oh my God, that's 15 or 20 years old now.
That just scares me.
Yeah.
Absolutely scares me. In your opinion, okay, it's easy to say that these people have been kidnapped, they've been, just held hostage and by some murderous psychopath. Okay, maybe my ex-mother-in-law moved next door. Thank you, Fap, in our chat room for reminding me of that fear. Okay, it's easy to make it a human type of disappearance. Okay,
mm-hmm.
But on the supernatural side, when you look at those 65,000 people that go missing annually, that just vanish, is it more likely, Butch, if it is supernatural, that it is something extraterrestrial? Or have these people walked into a portal where on their timeline everything is the same, but on this timeline they're gone?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head there, because that's the two things that everybody discusses when they talk about it. Our space brethren are involved. That's one. Or they just walk into a portal and disappear. And that's not only happened with people. That's happened with whole plane loads of people. That just, I can't remember what year it was. Maybe 1955. An Air Force transport took off in Alaska and was heading to Montana, I believe. And they made their first two contacts with the ground control, and third contact they were supposed to make, they never made. And I think there were 45 or 46 people on board, and that plane's never been found, and the people have never been heard from again. Not one piece of it, and not one piece of evidence has ever been found. And it was to this date, it was the biggest air search ever done. There were 85 planes in the air looking for this plane. Never found anything.
No crash beacon or anything?
Nope, nothing. Zero. Never heard. Last thing they heard from the pilot was that he was at that marker, was calling in to advise them he was at that marker, and that was the last thing they ever heard out of him. There was no distress call. Nothing seen in the sky that shouldn't have been there, like something was approaching the aircraft or nothing. Just absolutely nothing. Just his last words were, he was checking in, they gave him his vector, and that was it. Done. Oh, look at Flight 19, out of Florida. They've never found those planes. And believe me, they've looked for them. And then how weird is it that the search plane that goes out looking for them, that disappears. never seen or heard from again. And then a second plane, rescue plane, goes out, and the same thing happens to that one. So, why? What? Well, Bermuda Triangle.
Okay, so what do you think is happening? Is it portals? Aliens?
Well, since we don't know squat about portals, there's people that say they're experts in that stuff, but there's no such thing. Portals exist? Sure. Why not? I mean, we don't even know enough about our own planet and our own universe yet to say that a portal doesn't exist. Or, it's just so strange because there's so much information about what happened, when it took off, whatever it was, planes or people, and then a line gets drawn, and that's it. That's where it ends. There's no
That just
anything.
Amazes me,
Yeah.
Butch.
That is amazing.
If these are portals, and this is the one that absolutely enthralls my imagination, okay, it's possible that these people are still alive. We just don't know where the heck they are.
Nor do we know how far back this goes.
See, the reason why I bring that up, Butch, is when you hear these stories of people seeing pterodactyls or thunderbirds. Okay, a thunderbird being a 40-foot bird, that's the size of an airplane. All right? That would be picked up on radar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and yet, never mind the fact, not to sound grotesque, but that bird would have to defecate. And you don't see a bunch of white painting in the forest or on buildings or on streets or your freshly washed car. You don't see it. Okay,
Right.
So is it possible that when we see these creatures, even maybe Bigfoot for that matter, that we are actually looking at something in a different dimension?
That comes up more than you could think of. I mean, a lot of people say that the strange things, not only in the air, but at sea serpents. There are people that swear and declare that Megalodon still exists.
Oh, I think so.
You're talking about a 65 to 70 foot long shark that could, probably bite your boat in half. But, are they here? Or are they not here? Or are they here for a period of time? Which always bugged me with our very first bipedal report. The thing walks out from the right-hand side of the woods. The dogs evidently see it. The gentleman sees it. Walks out of the woods, crosses the trail, goes into the other side of the woods, never looks at him or the dogs, like they didn't even exist. Like he or it didn't think that it was being seen, yet it was being seen. So was that some type of interdimensional being that walked from one side to the other? The dog's seen it before it actually even walked out of the woods. The man sees it when it got crossed in front of him and went into the other side of the woods. But it never looked at the man or the dog, the two dogs. Now, these are two Weimaraners. I don't know about you, but if I got two Weimaraners barking and tearing at the ground trying to get to me, I'm going to keep my eye on them. This thing never flinched, never even glanced at the gentleman or the dogs. Like maybe it thought that the gentleman and the dogs couldn't see him. Who knows? I mean, there's so many things out there. We talked about this last month, about the steps in the woods. There's just so many weird things out there. And then, that takes you back to the pictures of the dead people. It takes you back to the dialogue that is just everything just kind of flows to a point where it's like you run into a brick wall.
Well, this is why I'm asking, right? Because I'm a firm believer in the whole dimensional portal thing. I have no proof. It just, for some reason, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, you know, a plane is being tracked. Now, in that particular area of Alaska, where Elmendorf Air Force Base is, during the Cold War, you couldn't fly a kite from Russia into the United States without it being picked up. I mean, nothing got into this country. I mean, they had radars and, you know, all kind of devices all over that state. Tracking this plane, when it leaves, it's on course. He gets to his first checkpoint, he calls in for his vector. He gets to the second checkpoint, he calls into the vector, and he disappears. I mean, that's it. Gone. And 85 aircraft took off to find this thing? Didn't even find a piece of wreckage. Nothing. Even in the, you know, not only in the mountainous areas, but in the clear areas, the open, the flats, they didn't see anything. They didn't find anything. Flight 19, you know, they take off, they get disoriented according to the radio transmissions, and they're gone, never found. A plane takes off to go find them, a rescue plane. It disappears. It's never seen, never found. Second plane takes off, same thing happens to it. So, I don't know. Sure makes a good case, though, for a portal or something.
Butch, we've only got about 90 seconds with you. And as per usual, we end with more questions than answers, as we normally do here. You know, I'm curious, you know, going forward here with the missing people, you know, are we ever going to find answers to where these people are going?
You know, I said that to somebody one time at a conference. You know what the answer was? We'll know in the end times where they went.
Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Very strange. My friend, always a pleasure. Tell people where they can send you some information and get a hold of you.
They can go on the website, uforcop.com, uforcop.com, go to terrestrial contact, and there's just type in what you want to know or you want me to contact you. We usually get back to everybody within less than 24 hours. We have a separate computer for that stuff. Twitter, Facebook, I mean, we're all over the place. We're everywhere.
Absolutely, my friend. And we will talk to you at the end of October, my friend, because it's always great to have you on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Butch Witkowski's Strange Days. We do it once a month, near the end of every month, where the cranky curmudgeon of cryptids himself comes in to hang on out, chat with us about the weird and strange cases that are going on around this world. Butch's website, once again, uforcop.com. Stay tuned, as we still have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave coming home right after this. All right, my friend, we're clear.
Okay, boss.
Hey, I appreciate it, my friend. Much love. You are the best for a reason, my friend. Thank you.
Take care now.
All right, brother.
I'll get back to you on that picture.
Please do. Please do. And great crowd in the YouTube. We love you, Butch. They're all clapping for you. And thanks for being awesome, buddy.
You got it, man. Take care.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Butch Witkowski, everybody. Butch Witkowski. How awesome is he? Kristen Alberg with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. That is very, very kind of you. Thank you. Much love to you. Let's see here. What else do we got? We've still got 145 people hanging on out with us. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. How awesome was Butch tonight? He had his A game on. A game on tonight. He loves you guys. Honestly, he loves coming on this show and interacting with all of you. By far, as he states, it's the most interactive show that he does on a regular basis. Hey, Burrito, how are you? Good to have you here. So, you know what? Credit to all of you, because I do have to say this, okay? And I mean this. A lot of our guests come back or want to come back, and Corn's the booking guy in the chat room. He can confirm this. Our guests absolutely love the interaction with you guys. A lot of them actually do not like taking phone calls. I know that's hard to hear, okay? But with phone calls, you know, you never know where they're going to go. But the way that you guys are all very casual, we're all having a good time, we're all hanging out, and we're all just kind of pushing the way we should. All right. I think that that you guys do a hell of a lot, and you guys are a big part of the success that we have in luring a lot of these guests, you know, who want to come on the show. You know, so I think it's fantastic. You guys deserve a lot of the credit for that as well. And that's why, you know, when they could see, you know, a lot of the guests, what they do is they go back and they'll look at the archives. And when they see the video footage and they're watching it live, because I don't turn the chat room off for the replays, I leave it on there, and they see a lot of the comments that you guys are making and a lot of the, you know, the questions that you have, the interaction, and how classy all of you are in our chat room. That means a lot to the guests, and that means a lot to our reputation. So thank you for that. Thank you. I mean, that makes it exactly, Sandra. Classy woo. Classy woo. You know, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, we got about 2 minutes here. I want to get this out of the way, and we can discuss it after the show when I'm doing the editing. Just want to get it out of the way here pretty quickly. Okay, over the next little bit here, as you all know, in the United States, you have an election coming up. All right, and I know the debates are about to start. I want to remind everybody very, very quickly here as we have time. And if you have any questions for me, we could discuss that after the show once I'm in the editing side. But I just want to remind everybody, okay, that over the next number of weeks, Fabster, thank you so much for the super chat. That's amazing. Thank you. You're awesome. Much love, my friend. Anyways, I just, that caught me off guard. I just want to remind all of you guys, okay, that we're here to be a non-political show. We're the escape from the horrid reality that we are all living right now, okay? And so I just want to remind all of you that as we get closer to the election, and I know things are going to be heating up for a lot of people, okay, but we are a non-political show, and I want to try really, really hard, okay, to make sure that we stay that route and we stay that course, okay? So I have instructed Corrance, the booking guy, he's our wrench in the chat room, to make sure that zero election talk leading up to the election goes on. I'll explain more after the show because we do got to get going here, guys, but we'll talk in a second. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. I want to remind you that if you miss most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's do this thing, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the identified. Corey and Lauren Sturrock were walking near Doris, a village on the east shore of the Loch Ness in Scotland, at approximately 3:40 p.m. last Saturday, when they saw a massive eel the size of a bus surface in the loch. I have been camping and walking on Loch Ness my whole life, and I've never believed in the Loch Ness Monster, the initially skeptical Corey said. But what my wife and I saw was something quite extraordinary, and I would like to know if other people have seen the same. It was what looked like to me and Lauren like a massive eel. It was the size of a bus, he explained. It was massive. We saw the water rippling as if something was swelling, and that is what grabbed our attention. When we saw this thing that looked like a massive eel rise from the water and then go back under again, there was a large swell. Well, according to Corey, they weren't alone in their sighting, and unfortunately he was unable to film it with his phone. Other people walking along the same path saw it as well, he said. I reached for my phone, but it was all over in a matter of about 10-20 seconds, and it only showed itself for a few seconds. By the time I got my phone out, and it had gone underneath again. He insisted that the creature didn't look like all of those Nessie drawings with the humps. It just looked like a large, really large, very large eel. After never believing that there was anything in the loch, and no basis for belief in the Loch Ness Monster, I would say that perhaps there is a large eel in the water, and when they emerged, they look like the monster, he added. Whatever it was, it has some size. Using giant eels as an explanation for monster sightings in the Loch Ness has grown in popularity recently following a 2019 study conducted by Neil Gemmell, a New Zealand scientist and professor at the University of Otago. Gemmell's study involved whether or not gathering samples of water from multiple locations at different depths was going to be able to find any pieces of animal DNA. And then he would work to identify it. The samples were sent to labs in New Zealand, Australia, Denmark, and France, which used large sequence databases to compare the DNA found in Loch Ness with the majority of known living things. This was done to help distinguish and identify any potentially unknown genetic material. The results revealed no evidence of any large animals such as sturgeon, catfish, sharks, or surviving prehistoric plesiosaurs, but they did show an abundance of eel DNA. Oh, it makes you scratch your head. Oh, this is good for the Northern Lights. Not good for the planet, but for the Northern Lights fans, actually, I'm looking forward to this, because I'm in Northern Lights territory here. A blast of solar wind traveling about 400 miles per second slammed into Earth's outer atmosphere and triggered auroras this past weekend, and it doesn't look like the show is over. The solar storm reached moderate intensity. The Space Weather Prediction Center is forecasting moderately intense solar storms again. G2 level storms can trigger auroras that are visible across northern United States through Canada and states such as Michigan, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and northern New England, and of course, the Pacific Northwest. Oh, I can't wait. I'm going outside after the show, just in case. This activity is being caused by much stronger than normal solar winds as opposed to solar flare activity. The solar winds are produced by a coronal hole on the surface of the sun that was facing Earth in recent days. Minor solar storm levels are predicted by the SWPC as well. It's not terribly unusual for G2 level solar storms to occur, but we haven't seen one in a while. If it was to reach G3 or 4, it would be notable, as we usually see those once or twice a year, if that. Okay, moving on. Check for the northern lights if you got clear skies. The United States Air Force is getting serious about working with autonomous aircraft and aims to acquire an entire fleet of drones to act as robotic wingmen under its Skyborg program. Oh, this just doesn't sound right, America. Come on, USAF. Keep the pilots in the planes, man. They need jobs too. Where's the pilot love? As autonomous aircraft get more sophisticated, they could provide invaluable support to crewed fighter jets or bombers by escorting them into dangerous territories. The Air Force has said it's looking to purchase AI-powered craft to begin testing out their capabilities alongside crewed fighter jets. I expect we will be doing sorties where we set a new number are expected to fly with the manned systems, and we'll have crazy new concepts of operation for how they'll be used. Will Roper, Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics, said on an online conversation quoted by the National Defense Magazine. Another way that autonomous aircraft could be used is like in the Terminator movie, where we all end up dying. Yes, it could be used in missions that are too dangerous for human pilots, being sent in on one-way suicide runs. So we're building kamikaze drones now. I expect that the human pilots will decide, does the cyborg return and land with them and go to fight another day, or is it the end of its life and it's going to go on a one-way mission, Roper added. That's what I love about them, their versatility and the fact that they could commit suicide without any pilots dying. Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Wonderful. France's most tattooed man has said he was told not to teach nursery school children after a parent complained about his looks. Oh, this is BS. 35-year-old Sylvain Elaine has tattoos on his body, face, and tongue, and has had his eyeballs surgically inked black. Yeah, Mr. Elaine still teaches primary school children ages 6 or older. He said the child whose parents complained was not taught by him. Oh, so in other words, some Karen complained about this guy's tattoos, French Karen, which would be Karen, and that his own pupils were cool with his appearance because they knew him. Yeah. It's okay, it's only when people see me from far away that they can assume the worst, he says. Mr. Elaine, who also goes by Freaky Hoodie, said he was teaching at a school in Palaiseau near Paris last year when a 3-year-old child told their parents that they had nightmares after seeing him. Child's parents then complained to the educational authorities. Almost 2 months later, officials told him that he could no longer teach that age group, a decision Mr. Elaine said was quite sad. You know what? Just because he has tattoos all over his body, and trust me, I'm not for, tattooing the face or the eyeballs, but that means nothing on a person's ability, all right? Nothing. People. Just people. His tattoos, Mr. Elaine said, could help teach pupils to accept people who do not look like them. Exactly. He says, children who see me learn tolerance of others. When they are adults, they may be less likely to be racist or homophobic, and they will not look at disabled people as if they were something from a circus. Mr. Elaine estimates that he has spent about 460 hours under the tattooist needle. This includes the procedure on his eyes, which he had to travel to Switzerland, for it's illegal to have it done in France. Sounds like a good dude. The mayor of a Romanian village was reelected by a landslide, despite a major campaign setback. He died 2 weeks ago. Yes, Ion Aliman, a social democrat, was reelected to a third term with 64% of the vote on Sunday's election, which came after Aliman died of complications from COVID-19 on September 17th. A video posted online shows dozens of Aliman's supporters holding a candlelight vigil at Aliman's grave after voting ended. Elections officials said Aliman's name had already been printed on the ballots, and it was too late to correct them before the start of voting. They said the town will hold a special election to choose a new mayor, with Aliman's deputies serving as interim in the meantime. Talk about love of the people. Getting elected when you're dead. Could he still use a gavel to close down those horrid council meetings? Probably should. A teen student is being celebrated by a Texas community college after obtaining his associate's degree at only 14 years old. Great. Smart kid. Ian Taylor Schlitz started to take classes at Tarrant County College's Northeast Campus in North Richland Hills at age 12. At the school announced, he has obtained his 2-year degree. Good for him. He says he drew inspiration from one very special classmate, his sister, Haley, who's 16, and attained her associate degree from the college and a bachelor's degree from Texas Women's University. The elder sibling now is the youngest ever student to attend Southern Methodist University's law school. He says, I learned a lot from watching Haley with her own education, Ian stated. When I started taking classes at TTC, Haley would help me organize my schedule and the start of the semester. She then showed me how to manage my time. The younger Taylor Schlitz, who is the founder and CEO of his own company, Kidlamity Gaming, said he is pursuing his bachelor's degree and deciding whether to pursue a master's of business administration degree or attend medical school. Good for him. Doogie Howser, Part 2. A Florida resident's home security camera captured something weird. Yeah. A bear walking into the garage, making off with a bottle of Diet Coke. Obviously, this bear has no idea how horrid aspartame is for it. The footage shows the 3-legged bear, no idea what happened to its other leg, fleeing from the garage in the morning with a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke in its mouth. Neighbors said the bear is believed to be the same animal spotted wandering in the area in recent days. It was unclear whether the bear is the same 3-legged bear previously spotted in 2019. A group of alligator hunters in Arkansas broke a state record when they landed a gator measuring nearly 14 feet long. Travis Bearden, who by the way doesn't have a beard, said he was out at Lake Marisac with 3 other men, including his brother and father, when they spotted the large gator in the water. We weren't really sure how big he was when we spotted him, and to our surprise, after we harpooned it, it ended up being a giant. It dragged the boat around for almost 2 hours before I was able to get a clean shot on it. The 800-pound gator measured 13 feet, 11.5 inches long, and the longest gator harvested in Arkansas state history, according to the Game and Fish Commission of the state. We don't really have an official state record, but keep data on length, and it's the longest so far, they said. All right, let's move on. Where are we? Oh, Grandma's teapot. You know, this stuff never happens to me. Never. A small teapot, which was found by a British man while cleaning out a garage filled with family relics, nearly ended up at a thrift store before it was auctioned off for $500,000. Hanson's auctioneers said the anonymous 51-year-old seller was cleaning out boxes from a family-owned garage in Church Gresley, Derbyshire, England. When he came across the teapot his mother used to display at his childhood home. We believe it was brought back to England by my grandfather, who was stationed in the Far East during the Second World War and was awarded a Burma Star, he said. The man said the item was nearly donated to a thrift store, but he decided to have it appraised and was quite surprised to learn it was 18th century Chinese wine ewer that may have been used in the palace of the Emperor Qianlong. Yeah, Hanson's said there are only 2 nearly identical items known to exist, and they are housed at museums in China and Taiwan. The ewer, which had been expected to sell for up to $50,000, ended up fetching a high bid of $495,880.32. I'm thrilled. This will change a few things for all of us. I sat and watched the auction live at home with my brother and family, the seller said after the auction. It was tense. I got a few cans of Guinness beforehand. We'll be going for a drink tonight and toasting Granddad. Auctioneer Charles Hansen said the price was driven up by a bidding war between 8 participants from around the world before the final bid was placed by a London buyer. This is one of the most important objects I've ever had the privilege of selling. It has to be the best lockdown find ever, Hansen explained. And finally, Shirky Poo does it again with another wonderful Guinness record. Okay, this gives a whole new meaning to being a tree hugger. And I will tell you point blank, I hug trees. I do. And the energy that comes off of a tree is amazing. Amazing. Try it sometime. Seriously. But this Tennessee woman broke a Guinness World Record for another useless stat. She hugged a tree in a Chattanooga park for 10 hours and 5 minutes. Adrienne Long spent 10 hours and 5 minutes with her arms wrapped around a walnut tree at Heritage Park in Chattanooga's Brainerd neighborhood to break the previous tree-hugging record, which stood at 8 hours 15 minutes. Long's friend Sarah Medley, owner of Studio 59 Aveda Salon and Spa, organized activities for Long and spectators, including dance, yoga, and guided meditation during the attempt. Of course there was yoga and guided meditation, because no one else can be this bored for 10 hours. The attempt was live-streamed on the World Record Tree Hug page for Facebook. Long's feat raised money for the local Audubon Society. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Isn't that nice? Here we go. Hate these Guinness record things, Shirk. Hate them. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Tell me about an obscure monster or legend that doesn't get enough attention. Start with Marty, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show. We love our veterans here. Thank you so much for serving. The killer tomato, Marty said to be haunting salads worldwide for centuries. They even made a movie about it. Thank you for the clown, Marty. Looks like Lucille Ball, actually, with makeup on. Shanna wants to know more about the Flannel Man. That's a bunch of Canadians running around American forests with axes. Spookles the Cat wants Kath Palug, Bakenko, or Bakaneko, Chakla, Madagot, I'm not even pronouncing the Finnish one, Cat Sith, Patrapatan. Yes, I've named a bunch of cats, no regrets. Of course you did. You are a cataholic. Ronnie wants to know more about Thunderbirds. Yeah, Greg, Baobon Sith, one scary woman, he says. Dan wants to go to Okanagan Lake here in BC and check out the Ogopogo. Lone Wolf, the Nain Rouge, otherwise known as the Red Dwarf or the Demon of the Straits, a malevolent entity said to haunt Detroit, Michigan, and is typically seen just prior to the catastrophic event in the city. Oh, yes, the Nain Rouge. Oh, hold on, we got a message from Shirky Poo here, updating us on the Guinness World Records. She goes, oh, no. She says, Guinness records for you every day. This is how my life is tortured. Right there. You want to know why I'm tortured in life? Blame Shirky Poo in the Guinness Book of Records stories. Moving on, Alex Mistretta always makes a comment with his shirt off for some reason. A haunted cave in the middle of the Saudi desert with a mysterious unexcavated archaeological site on a mountain that may be the real Mount Sinai on a decommissioned Saudi base. Matthew. Jeff. The talking mongoose from the 1930s England on the Isle of Man. The mongoose claimed it was an earthbound spirit. Let's see, more Alex Mistretta. Holy cow, Alex, you went crazy on this one. Orang Batty, mysterious flying man-like creature on the serum, because it can be found. Kenya's Bigfoot called X. Zombies in Haiti. Mokele Mbembe. Almastes, the Russian Bigfoot. Mongolian death worm, because it can be found. We know where, when, and what it eats. undiscovered saber-toothed cats in Central Africa and South America because they can be found. Ashy. Dave, your former hair, which never got enough attention from something called conditioner. Wow. This coming from a guy who literally got turned down as an Oompa Loompa in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Kind of guy who has to comb his back hair upwards so he can look like he has a comb over. Oh, that's right. I get the final word, Ashy. I get the final word. DA wants to look for the Lusca. Nick, got to go with Mokele Mbembe, giant dinosaur of the Congo Basin. Joe wants to find Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Science Bob has an interest in the Jersey Devil. Gabe, the 1800 spaceman crash in Aurora, Texas. Mike, the Pen Man. Wally, the Wallowa Lake Monster. That's a good one. Wayne wants more Chupacabra out there. Stephanie is addicted to the Duende from Colombia. She says, when we were little, we were terrified that this creepy gnome was going to come and haunt us. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Chris Desmarais gets the final word. My ex-wife, Kathy. Oh, you poor guy. That is the thought of the day. We'll do it all again on Facebook and Twitter tomorrow. Thank you to Captain Shirk, a.k.a. Shirky Poo, for loading us up with Guinness Book of World Records and useless records. She does the news on the SOR Newswire. Does a hell of a job there. And to Butch Witkowski for Strange Days. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thanks to everybody in our chat rooms tonight on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and our website, and the amazing snarkers and snarkettes happening and hanging out on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. All of you were absolutely fantastic tonight. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, guess what? We got room for them too. Good night.